passing's going to work. George puts up a long range three and nails it. Kayla G for three. Back to Nicholson, off the glass.
Three ball, unbelievable. Been an impressive performance.
The shot, she gives it off, almost a half court from Melbourne, it's gone.
And the Melbourne Boomers. Liam Nelson here alongside me is Mark Alabakov, one of the sharpest minds in basketball, for the final game of our Sunday afternoon doubleheader. Mark, welcome.
Yeah, great to be here. It's a really intriguing clash. We've got two teams that are running their own race at the back end of this WNBL season.
Absolutely. The Flames, of course, coming off really what was a famous victory against the Southside Flyers at John Cain Arena a couple of weeks ago, prevailed by just a solitary point. Shelley Gorman, her first win as a head coach in the WNBL. And who could forget the performance from Tiana Mangakahia?
And she's been incredible, right? So the whole Sydney Flames unit has been playing with a chip on their shoulder. They've been galvanised in recent weeks, being able to be led by that ferociousness and that tenacity that Tiana Mangakahia brings to the roster, and everybody's following suit. You can see her here being able to split defenders and get to the rim. She's playing relentlessly. She dribble penetrates and probes that keyway. She can score. She gets others involved in the game. They're playing every game like they're trying to win all of the ones remaining in the season. As I said, the hallmark is that tenacity and effort that they've started to play with.
She's really taken a step up since she's become, the solitary point guard on this team in the absence of Shyla Heal. Average 18 points and just under 7 assists per game since Shyla departed in round 11.
And she's really clutch. I mean, she's shown that she's got that clutch gene within her game. I mean, gosh, since she was a junior, she played some outstanding Australian junior championships. She was a fantastic junior athlete. She went over and had a really stellar college career at Syracuse, has come back, and to have her be playing in her WNBL season where she's a real minutes player and a leader within that Sydney Flames lineup, for her to prosper the way that she is, it's onwards and upwards. She's got big things in her future.
Flames in 6th position to start this ball game. Melbourne need to win today, clearly, to stay in touch with that top two. Obviously, the Flyers have head-to-head as well over the Boomers, so at the moment it looks like it's going to be tough to catch them. Games at hand, sorry.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the Melbourne Boomers are a championship caliber team. There's no doubt about it. We've seen it from them. For them, this is about regaining rhythm. They've lost 3 of their past 4, so they'll be looking to rectify that. Finals basketball is not so much about who is the best team, but who is the team that is playing with the most momentum. So getting back to the way that they were playing at the early part of the season, having that rubber hit the road again is going to be the focus for the Boomers.
Well, the Sydney Flames lineup on your screen now, unchanged from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, led by Tiana Mangakahia. I love seeing the opportunity for Emma Clark to come in and play some really important minutes. We know the caliber of Jocelyn Willoughby and, her being able to get to the basket with her quick first step, and then led also by the captaincy of Keely Froling, who's as relentless a competitor as there is in the competition.
Of course, the Boomers welcome back Mia Murray as well on Wednesday night, so a big addition back into their lineup with the season that she's having.
She really helps, and she brings championship medal. She's a veteran that is unflustered in situations. She can knock down big shots when your team really needs it, but that roster from top to bottom, you've got the starting 5, which are all capable of getting you points in the teens or even into the 20s. The real test for them is going to be how much do they incorporate their bench and how much are they able to get out of them in terms of production.
Well, the Flames at their new home here at the Quaycentre in Sydney Olympic Park. Playing games between here and, of course, Kudos Bank Arena as well. And the Flames are in, of course, that really wonderful Indigenous jersey as well that Stuart James has designed. The same jersey worn by the Sydney Kings. The centrepiece of the jersey is the white kneading circle behind the player's number, where the borders of the design are represented through the dot designs and reach down to the bottom of the jersey. Of course, the Boomers as well in their Indigenous artwork as well, created by Melinda Kennedy. Here we go, 3rd versus 6th on the WNBL table. And Murray will start the game in the starting lineup. Back to that 5 that they've had so much success with this season, the Boomers.
Yeah, and being able to have a group that plays and logs a lot of minutes together in key games, been able to work together in the trenches and knock off really high caliber basketball teams, it's worth its weight in gold when you come towards the business end here in finals, because they know that they've been able to produce together and there's a camaraderie between the lineup.
Here we go, Nelson Adoda to contest the tip for the Boomers. Be underway in the final game of our Sunday doubleheader in just a moment. Flames and the Boomers here at the Quaycentre as we continue our march towards the pointy end of the WNBL season. Referees today, Richard Bay, Nathan Path and Michael Beavers. And Shervin and Nelson Adoda being held up momentarily. And here we go, the Boomers with first possession. Here as round 14, Indigenous round of the WNBL concludes here in Sydney. Murray for the Boomers, here's George. Down low, and that'll be against Shervin.
Fantastic ball movement, and then being able to present Nelson Adoda on the ball side where she has to be denied by the defender, and then she wheels around and seals on the other side. You get to throw to the outstretched left hand. Fantastic job of rolling and sealing by her.
Boomers possession, fresh 14. Nice find to Mitchell. No good. Front position there was Froling. Here's Jocelyn Willoughby. Clark tried to find Shervin.
Probably a full 2 count late. Shervin was open and did equally a great seal at her end, but the ball didn't come quick enough.
Wallace finds Mitchell. Nelson Adoda with the pick. Here's George. Down low, Shervin came across late.
Yeah, I mean, and you've got to. Nelson Adoda is really tough to stop getting position close to the basket. So a lot of your work needs to be done before she gets there, trying to be physical and push her position, force her catches to be a full 1 meter step. You know, if you can gain a meter in any direction away from where she intends to catch the ball, you consider that a win.
And that means 2 quick personals for Hannah Shervin. She will take a break. Here a row inserted early, trouble call. Goes against George. Kahia with the basketball. He's been player of the week, team of the week twice, all within the last 3 rounds. Tiana Mangakahia. Here she is with the basketball on Mitchell. Tried to cross, has to pick up her dribble. Clark. She'll step back for 3, just short, and Wallace cleans it up.
Off she goes in transition. When she gets ahead of steam up, she's hard to stay in front of.
Just missing on that occasion. Mangakahia releases Froling. Good defense, George.
Outstanding floor running by Keely Froling, but then equally up to the task with the defense of Kayla George on that possession.
A low block. Here is George. Good defense from Rowe. Here's Willoughby. Driving straight up, Wallace. Nice find. Froling just missing.
Both these teams just feeling each other out right now.
George on the perimeter. Drains it. First bucket of the ball game for Kayla George.
That'll be a settler, and this is why she's an MVP candidate for mine. You know, being able to come up with a big bucket at a timely time to settle the group. Now they can get into the flow of their offense without the pressure of having to put a score on the board or try and chase points.
Froling. Handoff. Mangakahia for 3. Back iron. Nelson Adoda is there. Christy Wallace. Career year for the Boomers. Same spot, same result for Kayla George.
And the hunger from both of these teams. So Tiana Mangakahia chasing down Kayla George, trying to make her put the ball to the floor. Kayla George goes 1 dribble, step back, sticks a 3-point shot from almost the same position.
Mangakahia finds some space. Opts to go down low. Froling has the mismatch. Can't take advantage. George puts it on the deck. Now Wallace. Sydney searching for their first basket of this ball game. Mangakahia. Now the switch. Nelson Adoda's there. Clark for 3. In the corner.
And she's playing with a whole lot of confidence right now. So she's an athlete that's got some size, but she's a three-point shooter by nature.
Just mishandling there. Now the Flames the other way. Ngakahia assessing. Puts it on her left. Smooth move.
And what makes her smooth is that change of tempo. So she plays at two different speeds. So she'll accelerate, she'll stop, she'll get into a little bit of a jog, then all of a sudden explode into her action, whether that's to kick the ball out or get on the rim.
Tiff Mitchell off the dribble. Willoughby's there. Murray. Her first three of the ball game. Finds the bottom of the net.
And you've always got to know her location. Every time the ball changes possession, you've got to find where she is and almost be in her shorts the entire time, because if she has time and space, she can knock down threes, you know, at a high volume.
George with the block there on Willoughby. Wallace into the corner, stepped out of bounds. Did Mitchell.
Out of bounds, plays ball.
Headed the other way.
An early pace to this one, forcing some unforced errors on both sides of the ledger, but then also a fatigue. So you can see that both lineups have started to slow down. You know, they're starting to be a little bit gassed.
Ngakahia just missing that time.
And opting for the long three-point shot there too. So that's indicative of some fatigue.
Wallace, great finish in traffic. Back out to a 6-point lead. Wallace had 26 points in that Wednesday night loss to Townsville. Here's Froling in the post. Nelson Adota defending. Steps through on the left. And two shots for Froling.
Now, mostly I like that offense from the Sydney Flames. So the ball changes sides. They get a pick and roll on the side to begin all of the dominoes falling and the advantages being created, you know, for time and for space. They look a little bit labored. They're a full second slow right now. If they can sprint in and out of actions, they'll find more room within the paint, or, you know, to be able to dribble, penetrate, and then move the ball on.
Put on the first, Kelly Froling. One of the impressive parts of that win against the Flyers was just 13 combined points from their two leading scorers in Kelly Froling and Jocelyn Willoughby.
Yeah, and others have picked up the slack. So I mentioned earlier, you know, the likes of Emma Clark, for instance, and then the emergence in this back end of the season of Tiana Ngakahia, you know, where you've got a lineup where they're empowered and they can play confidently. Everybody within this league has something to offer, and it's great to see people flourish, especially as the season wears on.
Clark for three. Just short. George is there. Tiff Mitchell assessing, driving on Ngakahia, and Tiff Mitchell will go to the line.
She's difficult to stay in front of when she gets ahead of steam up. Now, we know that she's generally a driver first by nature, likes to go right to left with that crossover and then explode with the left hand. If you're guarding her, if you're Tiana Ngakahia, you've got to sit on that left hand and force her to have to make a play back towards the middle where you've got some bodies that can help, but also to her non-preferred side.
Had 21 points and 10 assists, double-double in that game on Wednesday night, Tiff Mitchell.
I say all of that from a scout standpoint. It's easier said than done, because she's a phenomenal athlete and so fast, and, you know, she's nimble. You know, she's able to step around you even when you try to put her, you know, on a non-preferred hand.
Definitely very nimble. So hard to stop downhill, Tiff Mitchell. 6-point ball game. Clark with the basketball. Ngakahia. And Mitchell was trying to fight around. Will be assessed on her. It's the first personal.
And so it's plays like this is where I'd like to see an explosive drive off that pick immediately on the catch. I think Keely Froling was in position to set that screen. If Tiana Ngakahia took her dribble immediately, she would have got into the keyway.
Here's Rowe with a pick. Clark on the deck, spinning, backing down George. Goes against the Flames.
Unlucky to take an extra step on that possession, but I like seeing her aggressive like this and being able to show the full package of what she can do as an athlete. So she's had a three-point shot out of the corner. She had one rim out of the top of the keyway a couple of possessions earlier. Now going to the rim, you know, using her length at the basket.
Now her third start of the season, Emma Clark stepping into the lineup since Shyla Heal departed. Nelson Adota inside the paint.
It's a common play run there by the Melbourne Boomers with a cross screen to bring a post to the ball side, and then on the weak side, that almost becomes like a dummy action, because on the weak side, they had a back screen from a guard to Nelson Adoda, so she's a bigger player or taller player running to the basket. You can throw her a lob pass where only she can catch the ball, just mishandled it on that last play.
George to inbound. Now Wallace from the corner.
3 points, number 3.
Massive shot by her, and she's such a weapon inside and out.
As are the Boomers. 3-point percentage been sky high all season long. Here's Willoughby backing down and finishes.
It's a tough basket, you know, and it keeps them within touch. The Boomers' offense by rating is the second best in the league in terms of converting on shot attempts, and then they're the first best team in terms of defensive rating from an analytics standpoint. So the quality of what they do is very high on both sides of the basketball.
George shows just why. What a season she's having, Kayla George. 19 points per game, 12 boards. Willoughby at the top. Rowe with the screen. From the elbow. Can't find the rim. Froling hunting it down. Kept it in. No. Just at the feet of Mangakahia.
So there's similarities in tendency between Willoughby and Tiff Mitchell. That quick first step and wanting to go left. A great scout there by Kayla George to sit off in the keyway and challenge Willoughby to have to pull up and shoot the jump shot over the top, which she missed. You know, quality basketball player, but you've got to force people to try to do the things that they wouldn't normally do as a plan A, for instance.
Miller Goodchild. No good that time. Here's Mangakahia. She'll have to slow it up. Mitchell defending. 7 minutes gone, first quarter here at the Quaycentre. Here's Panousis, her first minutes of the afternoon. Stepping, travel call, says the ref.
Yeah, it was most open as soon as
Mitchell on the opposite wing. Davidson, strong screen. Steps around Froling. Now out to Goodchild. No good on her first attempt from 3.
maybe didn't realise how open she was going to be. Did a fantastic job on that left drive to be able to get her shoulders by the defender. Had a wide open lane to the basket and then pulled it out.
So Panousis, what a game she had as well against the Flyers. 15 points, 3 triples, but some big, big shots down the stretch.
And that's what she can do. So she comes in and she's an organising point guard, but she's a great catch and shoot 3-point shooter. So even though, you know, you look at her shot attempts and perhaps the percentage isn't as high as, you know, some other athletes within the competition, she's always a threat, and she's shown time and time again throughout her career that if she's got her feet set, she's a threat from anywhere around that 3-point mark, whether it's at top of the key or within the corners.
Panousis and Rowe, 2 of those crucial first pieces off the bench. The coach Shelley Gorman's team. Missing on the first is Froling.
And Rowe's definitely a corner 3-point shooter. She's a proverbial 3-and-D player. Usually gets a defensive job on somebody and then can catch and shoot 3-point shots for you in the other end.
Mitchell, a little bit too much on it for Davidson.
2-2-1 press there from the Sydney Flames. Just trying to change the rhythm of this game.
Goodchild and Panousis. Goodchild in the 30 strip today. Here's Willoughby. Murray defending ball. Rolling with the screen. Davidson switches. Willoughby can't make him pay, but doing well was Rowe. Mangakahia off the window for 3.
The bank is open, as they would say.
Long way out from the rim. And indeed, Mark, the bank is open for Mangakahia. Back to 5 points. Waltlip is out there for the Boomers as well. Murray, good contest from Willoughby. But Goodchild muscling in for the offensive rebound. Now George on the perimeter. Down low, Davidson, extra pass, Ortleb for three.
3 points, number
Big
one.
three-point shot there from Ortleb, and great heads-up play by Davidson to be able to catch and then identify that there was a help defender coming in to try and take up all of her space.
5 of 7 start from three in this game for the Boomers. Offensive efficiency, one of their many strengths. Panousis for the Flames. Rowe was there for the pick. Willoughby has Davidson off her feet. No good from 2. And the shot clock buzzer expires, but the Flames with the basketball. Fresh 14. Willoughby driving left on Murray. Boomers ball.
Great job of help defense as well. So Ortleb being able to come in from the corner, and her body position is her help. So she plays wide and open. She's pointing to the person that she's guarding. She's pointing to the driver. Takes up a little bit of space, but her mind is on who she's going to guard. So if the pass did go out to the corner, she would move on the flight time of the ball to be able to arrive there on the catch.
Ortleb joining the team late. Spent last season with the Adelaide Lightning. Adding some guard depth for the Boomers. Goodchild tried to find Ortleb, and Sydney forced a turnover.
Great job defensively by the Flames. So being able to turn this game with some changes in defensive tactic. It alters the rhythm of the Boomers and they stay within touch.
Shot clock ahead of the game clock to finish the first. Mungakahia, Rowe in the vicinity with the screen. Driving on Ortleb, Willoughby in the corner. Davidson with the steal, 7 seconds. Murray had way more time than she realised. In it goes, Froling gets it inside the front court. The heave no good. That'll do it for the end of one. The Boomers 21 lead the Flames 13 here at quarter time. And the Boomers on fire from 3 to start this one, Mark.
And, led by Kayla George, so she hit 2 really big ones to get them going. They trend well when the ball moves through sets of hands. So we see George here shooting over the top of the smaller defender. She comes up big when you need her to, but they're doing a great job of creating a presence inside. So you see Nelson Adota there on that last possession posting up. She's done a terrific job of being able to roll to the basket. So it pulls defenders and the attention of the defenders into the key area, which opens up the three-point line.
Chris Lucas, of course, 1 win away as well from 200 career wins in the WNBL. One to watch throughout the afternoon. Could be a milestone evening for the Boomers coach. The Flames, though, have looked all right so far, Mark.
They have for the most part. I think for me, it's an assertiveness thing. So they've been able to create advantages, and you watch a lot of the action off the ball. There's been people early. So if the Flames can find getting in and out or quicker into their actions and then quicker out of their actions and being assertive. So if I've got the opportunity to score, I take that opportunity if it's within my skill set, or the moment that I draw help, the ball's got to then continue to move. If you watch their offense, the latter part of that quarter, it was all the same speed. So even though the ball changed sides, the tempo didn't change.
Here we go, second quarter, just about underway. Boomers back with that starting 5 they've gone to for so much of this season. Of course, who could forget the signing of Leilani Mitchell as well. Mark's soon to enter this lineup for the Boomers.
And brings so much experience. Played all over the world and been successful in doing so. I think the thing that she'll really bring is her demeanor. She's calm, she's humble. She always seems like she's in control and never flustered. Back when she played for the Adelaide Lightning in 2014, the team even adopted a mantra, hashtag be like Lay, with the thought that, being able to be in control and not get too uptight, whether things are going great or not, playing on an even keel being where people perform their best.
Great addition to this Boomers lineup in the coming weeks. Willoughby down to the low block. Froling posting up on Nelson Adoda. Stepping through, good D from the Boomers.
It was, but I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about with the Sydney Flames. So the moment that it goes in there, you only get past the ball if you're open, like you're given it for a reason. So if Healy Froling commits to her move, she might be able to catch Nelson Adoda by surprise or catch the awareness of another defender that pulls in, and then you can kick the ball out. But where she holds onto it for 2 and 3 seconds within that possession, then her next move becomes more predictable.
Tiff Mitchell again taking advantage downhill, and she makes on the first free throw. And as part of the WNBL's Indigenous round, Basketball Australia has created a cultural awareness quiz to provide practical resources for the WNBL clubs and its community to learn more about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. Once the results of identified topics you can improve your knowledge on, educational resources are available at the WNBL website. Head to wnbl.basketbol to take the quiz now.
Far better job of getting in and out of actions on that last possession. So they create a driving lane there for Tiana Mangakahia where Tiff Mitchell has got to chase her. She's on her hip. There's some contact. And now Mangakahia draws the foul and the Flames get the ball back. But there's enough actions within their system. They just need to be quicker.
Froling, handoff Panousis. Wortlip closes in. Now Willoughby from the wing.
And that's okay. Look, it's a clean look. The ball got stuck to one side of the floor, but they created enough time and space advantage for Willoughby to shoot an open three-point shot that just doesn't go down in this instance.
Wallace into the corner. Murray, great look. Won't go. Mangakahia. Now she can slingshot the other way. Behind the back for Rowe. Willoughby on the follow. And the Boomers will have to make Sydney work for it. Fresh 14 for them. Mangakahia down low. George is there in defense. Great denial. No, it might be the turnover against the Flames.
Yeah, unlucky. Trying to be assertive, and I think that's the real buzzword for what I'm watching. So here you have Froling commit to her move just over the taller defender. Kayla George does a terrific job. Keely Froling's a fantastic basketball player, and when she gets the ball elevated, fading away, she's hard to even change that shot because of her height and length.
George, corner triple. Mangakahia rebounds and launches into an offensive, penetrates, kicks out. Panousis. Great offense, the Flames.
And Mangakahia being the catalyst off the dribble when she gets time and space to be able to go and gets ahead of steam up. Use the phrase before, Liam, that downhill, right? It's like the entire court just tilts in that direction, and she gets faster as the drive happens, and it pulls other defenders in, and when it doesn't, then Tiana can get all the way to the basket.
Another assist for her. And this timeout brought to you by CTM Sport. If you're considering travelling interstate for a tournament with your basketball team, consider CTM Sport for a competitive, innovative and customised travel solution that puts your team on top. Visit ctmsport.com.au to learn more. And to talk about in the huddle for the Flames, you'd suspect. Just on the ropes a little bit to start this second quarter, Mark.
Yeah, a little bit, and I keep going back to that A word of assertiveness. Tiana drives the ball in transition, draws Nelson Adoda as a help defender, passes behind her back to Kira Rowe, and there's some indecision. You want to try and praise your group here, but also let them know that you back them. Let them know to make the play that they see. Let them know that if you're at the basket, you're facing it, go up strong, play through any contact. Where they can play with the crispness, they're doing enough to create the types of shots that they need to stay within this game, but the wounds are kind of self-inflicted right now, just with a little bit of hesitation, I think.
2 minutes gone, second quarter here at the Quaycentre, the WNBL Indigenous round. Kayla George Now Nelson Doda down low. George has Rowe there.
Number
Great
22,
move,
Kayla George.
clinical.
Yeah, and a great orchestrated play to get a close to basket look for Kayla George. If you're the Sydney Flames off the ball, you've got to come and help there. Nelson Adoda's on the three-point line. Till she hits a three-point shot, come and crowd the space of Kayla George.
The car here with the pull-up too. Leading the way in the scoring column for the Flames. Now Wallace from the elbow. That's her bread and butter.
Number 3, Chrissy Wallace.
Could be thinking of a timeout here for the Sydney Flames if they don't get a score on this possession.
The car here has Nelson Adoda off her feet. Backs it out. Willoughby. Panousis. Froling. Posting up baseline. Willoughby with the angle from the 45.
Big shot, but the ball's in harm's way. When it stops in the post for a 1 or 2 count, we have a defender get a hand in there to poke the ball loose. They've got to get quicker into actions.
Wallace moving it quickly. George, great look.
Number 22, Kayla George.
She's my pick for MVP of this competition. She's had such a great season statistically, but the most glaring thing for me is the leadership that she's brought to this Melbourne Boomers lineup. She's taken it upon herself to lead them both in voice and then in terms of her play.
Great dime from Munga Kahia. Releasing Rowe. Out to George. Takes Froling off the dribble. Nelson Adoda's there on the O-glass.
And she's really come alive in the back end of this season as she's gotten used to perhaps the physicality of the WNBL and the Australian brand of basketball. There's now a comfort in how she's able to play, and this looks more like the version of her that we've seen over in the US.
Look. Transition for the Boomers. George to slow it up. Further to your point about Nelson Adoda, Mark shooting just under 70% from the field. There's George the fadeaway.
Because they orchestrate great stuff offensively to be able to get her touches close to the basket.
Oh, look, nearly the impressive shot on the three-point play, but the steal will result in 2 shots for her.
When you talk about, we mentioned earlier Coach Chris Lucas, so he's worked with some of the best post players that the country's ever had. So being able to find them or orchestrate touches for them close to the basket and have counters to those actions, that's been littered throughout his history as a coach. So we're talking about Abby Bishop, we're talking about Susie Batkovic. So being able to have templates in mind where you can fit some of these talented post players like Nelson Adoda, you've got ways to be able to get them touches and get them involved and make them really impactful for your team.
Wardlook goes 2 from 2 at the line.
Taylor Ortland goes 2 of 2 at the strike.
Getting some good minutes off the bench since joining the team. Taylor Ortland playing a key role with Tess Madgen out for the remainder of the season. As Willoughby turns it over.
Unforced error, unfortunately, but right idea.
To Wallace. 4 minutes gone here in the second quarter at the Quaycentre. Mitchell is cutting baseline. Wallace feeds George. Trying to get it down low to Nelson Adoda.
Good idea, and probably lucky to get away with the foul call there. They're doing a terrific job of moving the ball around the perimeter, but it's far easier to hit a stationary target. Watch Nelson Adoda, she's moving the whole time. It's hard to throw it away from a defender and throw to your target hand if you're moving and rotating. She probably needed to put her foot between the feet of the defender, hold her off, and then we can throw to a stationary target. She just releases position to get possession.
Wallace into George. Around Shervin. Trying to feed Nelson Adoda. Panousis did well, tight to the baseline. She'll push it forward for Sydney. Rolling top of the keyway. But Shervin, second chance, the Flames.
And she's a hustle player, Shervin. So where she can, work hard to get you extra possessions, go in and compete for offensive rebounds, it does 2 things. It either wins you the ball back or it can slow transition.
Tiff Mitchell finds Wallace. Great pass to George. Mitchell on the O-glass. Muscles it up. So 2 shots for her.
And they compete. They do a fantastic job of going and trying to get offensive rebounds. They've got athletes that can come in and crash from the perimeter and jump over top of you, just like Tiff Mitchell does here. the challenge for the Flames, there looked like there was a lack of communication defensively as the ball transitioned down the floor. So no one knew who they were guarding, which forced them to be in a scramble within the half court. And then you don't have clarity on who you're trying to keep from going to the offensive glass. So it allows people like Tiff Mitchell to sneak in there and grab one.
This is her third set of 3 throws already this afternoon.
Number 25,
converts.
Henry Mitchell goes 2 of 2 from the line.
Boomers bit by bit extending that lead. Screen on Ortland was strong. Here's Panousis. Down the key, Froling following. Another extra possession, Sydney. Froling tried to drive baseline. And the call against the Boomers.
And great adjustment by Froling. So I'd mentioned a couple of times about her holding the ball for too long in the post. Here she catches and commits immediately. So she either had a layup or now puts Nelson Adota in a position to have to get 2 hands on her and foul her. Great job by Keely Froling.
Second on Nelson Adota. Into Panousis. Clark's in the corner. As is Froling. Now Willoughby at the elbow. And the steal for Mitchell. So this the situation that she thrives in, but denied by Clark.
Great defensive stop there by the long and athletic Clark. When I look at her and her body type, it reminds me of Beck Allen, and we know, what a fixture she is in our national program for the Australian Opals. She's got similar length, similar athleticism, and can shoot the basketball. A really exciting player for our future.
Plenty of players of that magnitude on this Flames roster too, as Mitchell slicing through for 2. Speaking of stars of the future. So Flames ball. Froling into Shervin. Mitchell hovering there for the steal. Here's Panousis. Now Froling, again the mid-range too. Call here from the ref. Looks to be on Davidson.
Foul against number 12, Benita Davidson.
At her second.
Personal, 13 foul.
Just pushing on Shervin there on the rebounding contest. So Boomers, as we mentioned off the top, losers of 3 of their last 4. Looking to regain some form coming into the pointy end and finals approaching. Willoughby, the fadeaway triple.
Massive shot and great defense by Benita Davidson to be able to contain her off the dribble and force her into a 3-point shot. Willoughby, equal to the task, shoots it over the top and knocks it down.
George, kick out. Mitchell trying to return fire. George is there under the glass and draws contact. Chance to bring her tally to 14.
And she has so much gravity around her. Anytime that she's got the basketball in the keyway, whether it's by the catch or the dribble, people run at her and then she gets other people involved. She generally makes the right basketball play, whether that's to go up, and generally if that's her shoulders facing the basket, she'll try and put it back up, but facing away, she tries to throw the ball out to a shooter.
Timeout on the floor. Boomers here by 12 points halfway through the second quarter. And this timeout brought to you by Cygnett. This game's been sensational so far for the fans tuning in from home or on the go. Make sure your Cygnett charging products are ready to power up your devices, because you won't want to miss a second of this season's WNBL action. Check out the extensive range of Aussie design digital accessories right for you at cygnett.com. Approaching the halftime break here. Chris Lucas's team doing as they'd hoped so far. The Flames definitely within touching distance here.
They are, and they're kind of arm wrestling for me internally in terms of their mentality between having stints where they play to win, so kind of like the mentality that we saw when they played the Southside Flyers at John Cain Arena. But then there's a hesitation, there's a playing not to lose and an overthinking, or trying to make 1 to 2 more passes than the offense requires. If they're able to get their confidence and be really assertive and make the plays that they see, they can get back into this ball game. But for the Boomers, can they continue to just trend in the direction that they are? They're finding the rhythm that we've seen earlier within the season. They're getting the likes of Kayla George going, so she's halfway to what her averages are. She averages 20 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists. She's on 12, 5, and 1 so far. You know, everything's going to plan if you're the Boomers.
Missing on the first.
You don't have to change anything until you're forced to.
Yet to take a spell in this ball game. Characteristic of two.
Go, Flames, go! Go, Flames!
Kahia moves it forwards. Here's Clark. Down low, Shervin. Pump fake. Couldn't create too much room, but gets the call.
The Flames so much more driven with Mangakar here on the floor. So you can see a different purpose or intent just from her being able to bring the ball down the floor there. Gets it into Shervin. Shervin commits to her move early. Drew a second defender. I would have liked that ball to be passed out to whoever was in the corner on the weak side opposite. And then she pivoted back in, played through some contact. Now she's got herself 2 free throws.
Shervin on the first, no good. So I believe the previous call adjudicated on Wallace, and if that's the case, Davidson has avoided a third. Brown's out there for the Boomers. Moving it ahead to Mitchell. And off the foot, so Flames ball.
Great job by Hannah Shervin to be able to take away that left-hand drive. It forces Mitchell to go back to the non-preferred right, where there's a skill error and unforced error with the ball going out of bounds.
Shervin, hand off to Mangakahia. Froling, aggressively driving to the bucket.
And that's the difference, right? So as soon as she catches the basketball, you're most open as soon as you get it. And she's an athlete. With her first step, she can get her foot across yours and then be able to get a straight line drive to the basket.
Wallace finds Mitchell wide open to make the Flames pay, and they can't. So Willoughby ahead. Mangakahia goes right at Wallace, and Wallace did just enough. Now Mitchell bouncing back the other way for the Boomers. And the Flames are back in defense.
Smart from Christy Wallace to control tempo. She can feel that the game's getting a little bit frenetic. Far better to get organised, get everyone back on the same page.
Mitchell, the friendly roll. Back out to 12. 2 minutes away from the main break here at the Quaycentre. Froling denied by Davidson. Somehow falls back for Keely Froling. And then the subsequent foul call on the Boomers.
Going after possession, so the rip through was fantastic. Got her shoulders by, great job defensively by Panina Davidson to get her hands to the shot attempt. But then Froling continues to compete, right? Goes after the ball as a loose ball, locks it up for her team, gets another foul call. Now they get to orchestrate a baseline play where they might be able to get a much needed score.
Nakahia, baseline J. It stays with Sydney. Another call on the Boomers.
So these breaks in play are really handy for you to be able to pattern a certain shot type for somebody. Well, now we've got free throws.
So Maddie Allen at the line for the Flames. Not that time. These are her first minutes of the ball game. Appeared in 13 games this season for the Flames. Christy Wallace, 7 points, 3 dimes so far this afternoon. Screen from Davidson. Mitchell's at the top, skips it to Brown. Davidson in the keyway. Backing down, good defense from Clark. Mangakahia. Eyes ahead of the ball, ambitious. Davidson saw better of it. Mitchell, will she take him on? Pulls up from the elbow. All class.
Tough shot and great footwork to be able to get into your balance on your shot attempt off the bounce in transition, going at the tempo that she was going at. It shows you the class of Tiff Mitchell and the amount of tools that she has in the toolkit on the offensive side.
Mitchell's got 12. And the Boomers in ascension with the 13-point lead. Brown up in defence along with Wallace on Mangakahia.
So Lou Brown guarding Froling, but then denying Mangakahia the ball, forcing the ball to go somewhere else.
Here is Mangakahia. Has Shervin at the perimeter. Hands it back to her point guard. Froling finds Brown gambling again through the keyway. Not that time off the window. Another second chance for the Flames. And Froling muscles it up and in.
Outstanding second effort, and she's been really unlucky because there's at least 3 shots that I can think of off the bounce that she's put up at layup type distance that has just rattled around the hoop and unfortunately fallen out for her. But if she can continue to create those opportunities, she's going to make more than she misses.
Timeout on the floor, and the Flames' second chance opportunities has been a strength. That's offensive rebound number 9 on the ball game for them.
Yeah, and you know, when you've got a group that, you know, perhaps you're coming up against a lineup the caliber of the Melbourne Boomers, which has far more experience on it and perhaps top-line talent. I mean, you've got Opals in that team. Your effort plays can be a separator, and you know, you need to crank those to 10 to be able to compete with some of these teams that have a whole lot more talent. So credit to the Sydney Flames, you know, working really hard, competing for extra possessions, and then forcing the Melbourne Boomers to have to defend a fresh 24 seconds or putting them in positions where they might foul.
This is a Boomers team that has a 6-1 away record so far this season. Looking to improve on that here this afternoon in Sydney. The WNBL Indigenous round. Final game of what's been a ripping round 14 of Cygnett WNBL action. And we're a minute away from the main break here with the Boomers leading by 11. Into Wallace. Mangakahia defending ball. Mitchell off the dribble. Tried to lose Clark. And the foul call against Clark.
Yeah, unlucky there on that possession. But with the foul count being what it is, it's going to put Tiff Mitchell on the free throw line.
Perfect from this spot so far today.
Opportunity here for Coach Gorman to be able to call a quick hitting offense for the Sydney Flames. So with that, you know, 40-odd seconds left on the clock, you can go for what coaches call a proverbial 2-for-1. So you get a quick, good, clean look offensively, give the ball back and have to defend for potentially up to 24 seconds, but then you have the ball to finish the half.
Here's Rowe. Mangakahia, 10 seconds. Froling. Rolling to the hoop. George comes across. Brown pulls it down. Good D, the Boomers. Shot clock just ahead of the game clock to finish the second. Here's Wallace. Mitchell. This has been a fruitful set so far for the Boomers in this contest. Now they've got to go. George, great contest, Froling. George nearly made it anyway. And the final foul call. So we might have 3 throws to end the half. Looked to be before the buzzer to my eye. Somewhat of a blow for Melbourne if that's the case. Given there was really no chance they were able to get a realistic shot attempt away there with a second to go mark.
Yeah, and this could be really important. If they get free throws out of the play, allows you to go into the halftime break with some momentum. No, it doesn't look like they've got free throws.
So there it is. First half completed here at the Quaycentre. It looks, yes, there you go. So no 3 throws. Flames a little bemused with the call. They'll head to the sheds to finish the first half. It is a 12-point ball game. The Boomers 42 leading the Flames 30. Tiff Mitchell has 13 to lead the way. Kayla George has 12 as well. No surprises there. 2 of the league's leading scorers. And for the Flames, it's an even scoring spread. Mangakahia, Willoughby and Froling with 7 apiece. We've got a ball game here in Sydney. Stick around. Final game of round 14, Indigenous round 4, the Cygnett WNBL. We'll be back right after this break. But first, this interview with Abby Cabillo.
I think really early on, I probably didn't even know about the WNBL, you know.
Steps to the left, takes it all the way to the...
Darwin was sort of my whole world, but I also was lucky enough to have a coach who had connections in Sydney. He found a school, and then it was like really fast from there. It was like, you're going to boarding school in this many weeks. It was pretty much a whirlwind, and it's felt like that ever since. It always feels like a refreshing feeling to get back here and spend that limited time that I generally do have.
So for the artwork, you know, it's representation of you and your character. So was there any women that also influenced you on your journey?
Obviously, my mum and sisters have had a massive impact on me. My nana as well has been like really influential. Like her life story, being a part of the stolen generation, is just crazy. So I think that resilience that I have definitely stems from her and her guest life stories. It seems pretty crazy to have kids look up to me. I guess highlighting the Indigenous athletes, I think, gives them a realistic pathway to be able to achieve at the highest level. I think sport's such a great platform to be able to do that and use people that younger kids already look up to and put them in this light and say we want to celebrate this as a nation.
Wilson Adoda, nice finds. Wallace with the cut. Wharton down low. Davidson, great movement. Easy bucket. George for three.
Melbourne's off and running. A nice pass to Burrell. That's great play there from the Caps. Melbourne's got to go. Does she realise she has to go? Puts it up from long range. Oh, of course she knows she has to go. Shot clock ticks down below 10. Melbourne goes to work and gets the finish. And lets out the biggest scream. And the crowd get up and about because the Canberra Capitals have won their second game of the season in front of a delighted National Convention Centre.
Draws a crown, leaves Woods wide open, and they pay the price.
Jimmy screaming from the inside.
Tapped away by Reed, who was starting to really assert her authority. Goes to work on Scherf, gets it to go. Count the points, she's going to the line for an extra.
Nailed this one.
Reed's brought it very quickly in for Hawkins. Eyes like a Tiana Hawkins.
Inga Kahia on the wing. Puts it behind her back. Pretty move off the window. Probing. Assessing her options. 6 seconds, goes herself to the rack. Manga Kahia. Kayla Thornton makes her move in the lane. Just misses. Oh, so close, and the Flames have come into Melbourne and stolen victory at John Cain Arena.
Team, you would never know that this is the very first time ever that a WNBL game has been at John Cain Arena. This is like a well-rehearsed crowd. It is actually nuts in here. I don't think I've ever heard it this loud, and I've been here for many different events. So well done to the WNBL crowd. Clearly passionate and clearly having a ball.
It's the biggest WNBL season yet, and superstar Lauren Jackson returns. Turn it up. Don't miss a block, basket, or game winner.
That's not steal the win.
WNBL, live on 9 now.
Do not underestimate the power of a good blind. Take this exhausted couch. Now it stands before you. Magnifique. Even this cocktail of dead skin is gracefully waltzing. Da, 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 da. DIY blinds. Change the ugly.
I'm so ready for love.
Australia's biggest social experiment.
Oh my God.
It's not easy to meet girls when you're like 900 k's from civilization.
Is on 9 now.
I look like the girl next door. I'm actually a little freak in the sheets.
Stream every new episode of The Love Phenomenon. Completely free, whenever you want.
Let's get married.
New Married at First Sight on 9 now.
Gossip Girl here, your one and only source into the scandalous lives of Manhattan's elite. XOXO Gossip Girl.
Get your summer streaming on 9 now.
So baby, in 90 days, we're gonna be husband and wife. I was with her for 5 days, and then I proposed to her.
She's so eager to be in love, she lets red flags just go.
People say 19-year-old, she's just using you. Maybe she could be.
90 Day Fiancé. Get your summer streaming on 9 now.
Tune in to the WNBL show, dropping weekly during the season and released across your favourite podcast network every Tuesday. Or watch the full vodcast at WNBL.basketbol.
League MVP. I'll never get used to that, by the way. That's a bit strange.
We can always come to you for a great inspirational quote. Join me, Megan Hustway, and my team of co-hosts, stars across the league, as we talk about everything that's happening on and off the court in the Cygnett WNBL.
This year, Australia wants
more. Everything. That's way more than I thought.
more.
Celebrities, snogging with the stars.
More.
Exciting.
Shocking.
Unhinged. Thrilling. I don't mean dramatic, but should we call an ambulance? More Sophie Munn.
New The 100.
High five. What is happening?
The new season of The 100. Stream the latest episodes on 9 now.
Think about the lives wrecked. This man isn't a forensic pathologist. He's a charlatan.
One of Australia's most senior politicians on the payroll of the mafia. It's the worst question in the world to ask somebody. Do you think your mother killed your father?
Conspiracies, murders, cover-ups. Australia's most astonishing cases go under investigation. Stream the latest episodes on 9 now.
When you look at the elite levels of basketball, there's a lot of pathways at that level. But when you talk about community grassroots, it's a lot harder, I think, to sort of break through that barrier. But I think this platform is trying to sort of bridge that gap.
This platform really starts to drive pathways and opportunities, particularly around the pillars of coaching, officiating and administrating.
That's why this platform is important to me.
I'd like to see the ball continue to move. That's juxtaposed with 11 turnovers, and I think that comes from the indecision and perhaps a lack of assertiveness, whereas for the Boomers, they've been solid, right? So 42% from the field, 38% from the three, but then they're also shooting 75% from the free throw line, having 9 of 12 attempts. They just continue to be rock solid at both ends and just following the trend of how we know them to play.
Boomers once again led by their starting skipper Kayla George. She's been terrific once again, Mark. 12 points, 5 boards in the first.
And she's all class, so she's trending exactly as we expect. She averages 20, 12 and 5 for the season. She's on 12, 5 and 1 as you mentioned, but also 2 blocks, so she's doing a defensive job. She's been able to keep Froling to 2 of 12 from the field, but it's the scoring prowess, it's the 3-point shot. She's been a feeder for Nelson Adota. She's ready to step up when the team needs her to, but is ever reliable as well. You know that you can depend on her to keep the scoring production ticking through quarter by quarter.
12-point ball game, double figures. It's felt like Sydney hasn't really been out of it, though. What changes for the Flames if they're to come back?
Well, it's a mentality thing for me. I like the actions that they're running in offense. Tiana Mangakahia is creating a whole lot of havoc when she gets out at speed in transition. They've got to find an answer defensively to try and turn, either speed up or turn the Boomers over to be able to get that transition game going. It's going to be an arm wrestle for which team is able to make the one adjustment that they need to get back into the picture.
George down low, Nelson Adota too tight to the bottom of the backboard. Mangakahia in transition, Panousis nearly the triple.
And should have shot it, so already indecision. She's a 3-point shooter.
Mangakahia gets it out to Panousis. Now she'll opt for the mid-range too, and it rims out. Mitchell corrals it in the corner, driving on Willoughby. Mitchell, great move, loses her defender.
And covers distance with less steps and less dribbles. So within 2 bounces, she was right from the corner of the court all the way to the other side of the basket for a layup.
Jocelyn Willoughby for the Flames. Call here from the ref. It is again. Wallace was fighting around the screen.
And if you're Froling, you need to try to trap the foot of Christy Wallace. So try and get that position early and then force her to have to come in late, almost on the trail, like she's piggybacking Willoughby through. Don't allow her to get her foot over the top of your top foot, where there's contact there's a foul, but there's also the chance that she can get over the top and then stay in front of the intended recipient. Willoughby off the bounce.
Panousis finds Mangakahia. Wallace stays with her. Now Nelson Adota switching. Fade away two, no good. Froling's there. Panousis, 4-3. The Boomers with the stop. Can they extend this 14-point lead? Out to George. 3 ball a little right. Flames ball at the baseline. Put up 17 points in that second quarter. Melbourne, though, still managing to extend the lead by 4. In the second period, here's Mangakahia. She'll opt to go herself. Mangakahia.
Massive shot, but difficult shot. So the ball stopped. It went to one side and then it stopped as it started to come out. So those things can be easy to defend.
Mitchell again downhill. Nelson Adota. And a tie-up situation. Favouring the Flames.
Flames ball.
That last 3 for Mangakahia sees her the first Sydney player into double figures on the evening. Mangakahia, row with the screen. Wallace tries to stay with her, and good off the window.
My goodness, that's a difficult shot to make. Going from front foot to back foot, fading away. Shows you the class of Tiana Mangakahia.
What are the last 2 or 3 weeks that she's had, Mangakahia. Nelson Adota with the low block. Scored 26 points twice in the past 4 games.
Yeah, and has really come into her own in the back end of this season. So finding her way within both their offense, but then as I alluded to earlier, just the physicality of the brand of basketball that gets played here in Australia. I think, you know, not enough of a case is made about, you know, we're physical. We've got a hunger that's, you know, like that Aussie battler culture in the way that we play, but we're also very skilled. So we've got kind of the best of both worlds, you know, within our national landscape and certainly within this league. And it can take some time to adjust to.
Good on the first. Brings her tally to 13. Bright spot for these fans here at the Quaycentre in the second half of the season. That's for sure. Back to a 10-point margin. Here's Murray, making her return from injury on Wednesday. Mitchell backs it out. Murray off the dribble. Oh, somehow got it up and in.
Equal to the task. I was just about to praise Sydney for the defensive job that they did that possession. Tit for tat with both of these teams.
Panousis. Willoughby, round two. Nice find, extra pass, Panousis. Here's the look for Sydney. There's the finish.
And there's the assertiveness. You know, from every action, they get into it quick, they get out of it quick, they're assertive off the drive. It forces another player to come to help.
Nice passing from the Boomers. Nelson Adota to the line.
Sydney gets the extra pass three, but then equally as impressive, the quick turnaround, the almost clap back as soon as you get an inbound and kick it ahead down the floor. And well done to Nelson Adota to be leading the break for her team. She's such a big target, long target to throw to. You can throw anywhere in the vicinity and she'll go and get it.
Well, after a 2-year hiatus, the Cygnett WNBL Awards Night is back, proudly presented by Foot Locker. Come and join the celebration with the players, game officials and sponsors as we all celebrate the season highlights and announce the MVP of the 2022-23 season. For tickets, for your chance to be there, get involved, you can visit WNBL.basketball. Flames basketball, Munga Kahia for three. Short that time.
She shot it from the car park.
Just about did. Here's Mitchell. Ortler back out there as well. 3.5 gone, third quarter. Mitchell off the dribble. Finds Nelson Adota. Imports combine and it's Boomers ball sideline.
Got herself into the paint, had a wide open right-hand drive there. If she took one more dribble to her right hand, would have had a finish without any defenders around her. But trying to get her post player involved in the game, looking for her with that lob pass. Sometimes it pays to make what some would say is the selfish play, but if you're open, it's a great play.
Mitchell, alley-oop opportunity. Munga Kahia to bring it back to single figures. Great find. Rowe just couldn't hit Panousis in the shooter's pocket. Back in the lap of Panousis. Now the shot from Froling. And the Flames. Missed opportunity on that trip.
An unfortunate mishandle. The ball got to the intended recipient. Just a little bit of a fumble allowed the Melbourne Boomers to be able to catch up and defend it.
Download a good child. Floater won't go. So is this the opportunity for the Flames? Hovering around this double-digit margin for quite some time now. They've threatened, but can they take advantage? Panousis.
Nice pass.
Great pass. Froling with the finish. And a chance to make it three.
And strong finish by Froling. I like seeing her play that way and not anticipating contact, just going up strong, playing through any of the hands that are there. I feel like early in the game she was maybe anticipating somebody making bump contact with her and then being in a little bit of indecision on the shot attempt. Here where she backs herself, she's strong enough and athletic enough and long enough to be able to play through anything and still score.
That would have brought it back to 7 points, the margin. In favour of the Boomers. Mitchell. Not that time. Flames starting to string some stops together now.
But not doing themselves any favours from the free throw line, so they're getting themselves there. They're shooting at less than 50%.
Panousis. And George on the defensive glass. Good child. Munga Kahia did well. kept it in bounds. In transition.
Nice pass.
Down low, Rose there. And a timeout on the floor. 49, the Boomers lead the Flames 43. Halfway through the third. And Sydney, Mark, they are coming.
Absolutely, and being able to play with some resilience. They're driving to the basket, they're getting contact at the rim and now playing through it. As I mentioned earlier, just not shooting the clip at the free throw line that they would have liked. So they're 5 of 11 at 45%. There's 6 points gone begging. The margin is 8 currently. It highlights the importance of making every post a winner, and then the shots that you earn from the free throw line, they're undefended, right? So you've got to knock them down, or at least at a very high clip, to stay in touch with good teams.
Back to a 6-point ball game. Boomers led by as much as 15 at one stage. Tiana Mangakahia has been terrific once again. 13 points, 5 boards and 4 dimes now. And Froling has 9 as well, to go along with 12 boards, 4 offensive. The Sydney skipper.
And she's done a tremendous job with possession play. So she's stayed persistent. It can be easy as an athlete of her caliber. So she's 3 of 14 from the field. That can be deflating, and sometimes you don't continue to compete at the same level. But that's not in the DNA of Keely Froling. She's relentless, all of the time, and wants to win every possession, every quarter, every game. So she's got 9 points on the board, even with the shooting percentage being as low as it is. Has started to find her rhythm, but then earning the ball back with effort plays. 4 offensive rebounds, as you said, 12 for the game so far.
George into Ortleb. 5 points off the bench today for Ortleb. Nelson Adota hovering. Ortleb for 3.
Big shot, and there seems to be a trend in this game of really deep 3-point shots, and it shows you, a bit of a trend as we see one go up here. A trend internationally where it might be the Steph Curry influence, the Dame Lillard influence internationally at being able to hit 3-point shots from deeper ranges.
Great finds. George did well to keep control of it. And the 2 Boomers stars regain control for their side. Panousis. Back out to Mangakahia. Good child defending. Crossing. The pump fake, needs some assistance, finds Rowe.
Unlucky, and great job to try and split the 2 defenders there by Mangakahia. She got her feet in the paint, drew all of the help. What you want from that weak side, it's Maddie Allen that would have been. You've got to get where the ball can see you. If you stay where you are out on the wing or where the bend in the 3-point line is, you're hiding behind defenders. If you sink to the corner, you can be in vision of that driver, so Mangakahia in that instance, and if she can see you, she can throw it to you. Highlights the importance of being active or a continuous thinker off the ball and moving to windows where the ball can find you.
Gets it forward to Miller Goodchild. Mitchell hands it back. Davidson's there, Mangakahia, nearly the steal. Had to go for it. Can Goodchild take advantage? Ortleb again for 3. Allen flew in, and it goes the way of Sydney.
And that's all Tiana Mangakahia, right? Trying to put a whole lot of pressure on the ball handler, speeds up the offensive execution of the Boomers. Now, they do a wonderful job of being able to get through pattern offense and shoot the ball at a high clip. They're a very efficient basketball team. As I mentioned earlier, they're the 2nd highest in terms of analytics for offensive rating. If you speed them up, you force them to play at a tempo that they don't want to, and they turn the ball over there.
Delay in play. As the referees figure something out, 11-point ball game. Boomers have regained control, 3.5 out from the final break. Sydney were on the comeback trail, got it down to 6. The George and Mitchell duo has proved very, very tough to stop. 29 points combined from those 2 this afternoon.
And Kayla George coming up big, with that transition layup a couple of possessions ago. So she can beat you both with her smarts and her skill set, but then effort plays, like just simply running the floor and getting on the end of a layup.
Ball goes against Taylor Ortleb. 4th team foul on the Boomers. Panousis for Sydney. Froling. Now Willoughby. Back to Froling. Cutting to the hoop.
Great screen there by Vanessa Panousis to hold up the defender, and then a straight line cut by Keely Froling. Gets her shoulders on the rim, makes the play.
Ortlop directing traffic for the Melbourne. Tiff Mitchell loses Rowe. Easy bucket, Tiff Mitchell.
Unfortunately for Kira, that's going to be on a highlight reel.
Seemed to be the classic ankle breaker, didn't it, Mark?
And she's a terrific defender too, so unfortunately lost her footing here. Tiff Mitchell is so shifty. She plays on the front end of her feet. She's able to shift her body weight, and you don't know whether she's going to go right or left.
There's the perfect adjective for it, Mark. Change of direction is laser sharp from Tiff Mitchell. Ortlop, can she keep it in? No.
You feel like she's the type of athlete too that would be great at anything that she put her hand to. Like, she'd be a fantastic tennis player with the ability to be able to shift her body weight and then cover space.
What a pleasure to have her back in the league once again. Second season running with the Boomers. Starring in last season's championship, George assessed with a foul.
And the difference between, that exact play earlier in the first half where, I was talking about Keely Froling perhaps holding the ball for a one count before committing to her move and then giving Kayla George the chance to anticipate and block the shot. Here she gets it off the inbounds pass, flies to the rim, and she's such an athlete, gets her shoulders by, puts George in a position to foul, and now she's got 2 free throws out of it. She's having a heck of a third quarter.
Froling at the line. Double-double. 4 of 15 shooting today, Keely Froling. Important few minutes here, you suspect, Mark.
It really is. They're hanging around, and if you're the Flames, you want to find a way to be able to get the margin under 10 points and as close as you can get it to striking distance. Maybe the 6-5, 4-point type of margin. That might come from a defensive change-up here to break the rhythm of the Boomers in this last 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Something like this, a 2-2-1 press on the back of the free throws.
The Boomers break it via Goodchild. Just missing on that occasion. Panousis ahead to Munga Kahia. Loses her footing. Can she avoid the tie-up situation? No, it's a turnover. George releasing Mitchell. Goodchild in transition. Davidson with the finish. Clinical from the Boomers. And it brings it back to a double-figure margin.
And just what the Boomers need. I mentioned at the start of the game that the key for them now and then moving forward is what they're able to extract out of their bench. Can they trust them and put them in positions to be successful? We've already had, enough evidence with Taylor Ortlop. She's got 8 points. She's had a fantastic game here so far, 2 steals as well. But Penina Davidson has shown she can be a post target and get you touches, get you cheap baskets. She plays her role incredibly well, and she's serviceable and reliable. Can they get some rest for Nelson Adoda or even potentially Kayla George for a minute or two by being able to deploy Penina Davidson to do what she does?
Munga Kahia with the rock. Narrowly avoided the turnover on the last possession, Willoughby. And 3 throws for Jocelyn Willoughby.
Now look for the Flames to be in that same 2-2-1 press if Willoughby can hit the second free throw. So teams will generally deploy this after a set of free throws because the game has stopped and you've got a chance to be able to get organised and put people in these scripted positions. But earlier there was a pull-up jump shot, I believe it was by Goodchild. A rushed shot is as good as a steal sometimes. So where you can force a team or perhaps a player within a team that isn't really their main target, is a receiver target like Goodchild is, to have to make a play off the dribble, shoot the ball at a pace that they're not normally accustomed to, that's a win for the Flames. They're able to get the ball back quickly.
Another chance for Willoughby. Could this be a win for the Flames? So Munga Kahia will reset. 9 seconds. Davidson switching. Down low. Rose there. Poked away though by Ortlop. Did well. And the Flames, their woes at the free throw line continue, but Munga Kahia Picks Ortlip's pocket but loses it. Yet another missed opportunity for Sydney. Good child. Now Davidson on the wing. Melbourne can just take a collective breath and settle things here. Good child. George, touch pass to Davidson for three, a little strong.
And that's what I've really appreciated by Kayla George. I mean, her whole career, but certainly it's been, we can shine a light on it this season. She can score from you in a multitude of ways, but she always makes the right basketball play. She'll give the ball up to somebody in a better position.
We've seen that reflect in the stats column as well this season. One of the league leaders in assists per game, Kayla George.
Really aware, and it's stuff like that. Like we've seen that throughout her career, touch passes where she can anticipate or see that that second defender start to shrink space around her, and then because of her height, she's able to put her hand up around shoulder height and knock it onto a receiver.
Mitchell on the free throw line. So Mangaka here. They take some time off for the final quality look of the third quarter. To bring it to single digits, Willoughby runs straight into Ortlip. Mangaka here, not afraid to fire from that range. An offensive foul on the screen. That will mean the Boomers have 7 seconds to work with. It was 12 points at the halftime break mark.
It was, and it hovers around that same mark. It was really based, I think, upon the difference being the first quarter scoreline, not unlike the game we saw earlier this afternoon where it was an arm wrestle thereafter, but one team was able to give too much of an advantage to the other early days.
And Tiff Mitchell, oh so close to bringing it back to that very margin at three-quarter time. The Boomers 58, the Flames 48, in a quarter in which it felt like Sydney got themselves right back in the contest, but once again, very little ground made up really on the scoreboard.
Only the 2 points, so they win the quarter 18-16, so you want to praise a lot of what you've seen qualitatively with that. So the hustle plays, I mean, you saw Keely Froling come alive at the early part of the quarter with effort-based stuff and then being able to play through contact at the rim, and then that drew a whole lot of attention within the paint, so they're able to kick it out and find shooters. Tiana Mangaka here, every time she gets the ball, you can see something's about to happen, and it's an exciting brand of basketball they play when she's in full flight. The Achilles heel for them is going to be their free throw shooting. I mean, they're 8 of 15 from the free throw line currently, and really there's a lot of the margin.
And we highlighted at the halftime break as well, missed opportunities. The angle at halftime was from three. They had missed opportunities from three. Free throws as well. As you mentioned, when you're leaving 7 or 8 points on the board like that, that is the 10-point ball game, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and I like seeing them play a little bit more assertively again. So that was far more of the style of basketball that we saw from the Flames when they beat the Southside Flyers. So I think they had 5 assists up until halftime. They had 5 in that quarter alone. So the ball moved, decision-making went up. People were assertive when they had a time and space advantage to make the play, and they did. And that's why they got back into the contest in terms of momentum. They've just got to put a dent in that scoreline. I mean, easier said than done.
So the Flames, it's Froling and Mangaka here with 13 points apiece. And the Boomers, Tiff Mitchell, leads all comers with 17 points. And a double-double for Kayla George, 14 and 10. Do we have one final twist in store down the stretch here? Flames, by no means are they out of it. Threatened at times.
Well, the handy thing for the Melbourne Boomers is they've been able to just stay solid. They're playing to exactly what we expect from them in terms of trending. So they haven't been really disrupted or allowed the Flames to get back into the contest to get to really striking distance. They had Christy Wallace in foul trouble in that quarter, so she's got the 3 fouls, but they've been able to put her out here on the floor to start the fourth. I mean, there's no need to foul her out any longer. She's got the 7 points, the 3 assists, and 1 rebound, and she's one of the best guards in the competition. So you just have the ability now to weather a storm, but then also play the home stretch with your best lineup.
Here's Wallace to start the fourth. Is this the unit for Melbourne that regains ascendancy? Unsurprisingly, the starters have had all the answers so far. George at the elbow, down low. Froling defending the block. Nelson Adoda with a shot away and 2 to come at the free-throw line.
They missed an opportunity to throw her the ball earlier too. I think it was a well-constructed play, but credit to her to be able to be assertive on her left hand, knowing that she's a right-handed shooter. Sometimes that can be a little bit intimidating for a player to back themselves, take a strong dribble with their non-preferred hand. She gets herself to the free-throw line.
Good on the first. Boomers 11 of 15 from the charity stripe today. Froling pulls it down. And Panousis drives right, probing inside. Who's there? Froling can't find her. So Wallace can pull up from the elbow.
She's one of the best mid-range players in the competition, and probably one of the best that there's been for a very long time. With or without a pick, she's just under so much balance, and she can go from fast to stop really efficiently.
Mangakar here releasing Froling.
Threaded the needle. Froling's shot did a lap of honor and went down.
Wallace. Playing point for Melbourne on this possession. Mitchell. George on the low block with Rowe. Gets the shot away. Classy start from Kayla George.
Ever reliable.
Mangakar here. Off the dribble for Sydney. It's around Nelson Adoda, tangled up with Ortlup. And the call from the referee. A blocking foul on Ortlup.
Now, in a lot of ways, you look at the scoreline, and the difference in this one has been, or will be, offense. You know, both of the teams sit in and around a beatable scoreline for one another. For the Flames to get back into this contest, they need someone who's going to put the ball in the hoop. I'm wondering why we haven't seen much of Emma Clark.
She's been good in the time that we have seen it. Mark, 10 minutes she's played in the ball game.
Yeah, has hit a three-point shot as well. You know, sometimes those things can be momentum building, or you know, having the threat of the three-point line, you know, with multiple athletes opens up the paint for you.
Wallace rips it and goes. Heads to Mitchell, cross court, George. Well defended by Panousis. Now one-on-one, down low is Tiff Mitchell. And the Boomers with the answers once again.
It's starting to get a little bit out of reach. You want to get a score here, or you might be thinking of a timeout if you're Coach Gorman.
Mitchell diving on a good hustle. Gets it away for Melbourne. Sydney's back. Transition triple for Taylor Ortlup. And that hurts if you're the Flames. Makes it an 18-point ball game and a timeout on the floor. Melbourne well in control here, and this timeout brought to you by DIY Blinds. To fit out your home with Australian-made designer quality window furnishings at the best prices, head to DIYblinds.com.au to order your free samples today. So in fact, we will not have a timeout. Boomers players ready to go once again, and they are feeling it at the moment, Mark. Good opening to the fourth.
Yeah, they are, and you know, they're probably going to need to up their work rate, do a better job, or even increase the good job, I should say, that they're doing with blocking out, with possession play, because there's going to be an increased ferocity from this Sydney lineup, and you can't be outworked if you're a talented team like the Melbourne Boomers. Don't allow them to get back into this contest purely on effort plays.
Miscommunication there from the referees and Shelley Gorman. Thought she called for a timeout. Said no, in fact I did not, so we play on. Wallace.
I think they should have, though.
Here's George. Now they might need to, Mark. 21 points the margin.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to break a losing pattern, and right now there's a clear momentum from the Melbourne Boomers.
Deflected off the Boomers.
Subs in for the Flames, number 34, Hannah Shervin.
Here comes Shervin back into the ball game, and Clark's out there as well. You spoke earlier of Clark perhaps not getting as many minutes as you would have expected. Willoughby for 3. Kira Rowe off the bench, though, has played a big role. 26 minutes. And as you said, Mark, 3 and D. She's been good.
Yeah, and she was the matchup for Nelson Adota for a lot of the time, which was a bit unconventional, but effective for the most part.
Deflected off Ortlup. He's got 4 steals in the contest. Taylor Ortlup. Have you seen her integrate into this Boomers lineup over the last month?
Well, she's been, great with her opportunities. So she's got a familiarity with, the way that Coach Chris Lucas coaches the team, or perhaps some of the sets that they run. So it would have been like a hand-in-glove fit in a lot of ways. The difficult thing would be coming in and playing with new teammates who have different skill packages. Being able to build that chemistry sometimes can take some time. But in terms of familiarity, I think that would have been, very, very comfortable for her.
Wallace crossing into a mid-range J, and it falls. Boomers keep on motoring here. Here's Willoughby. They need to stop this run, Sydney. Panousis. No good on the mid-range too. Here's George. Now Wallace. Can they extend the momentum? Mitchell. Nelson Adota assessing things for the Boomers. Been a controlled offense throughout the evening. Willoughby flew across.
Great defense. An outstanding job by Emma Clark to be able to contain the dribble penetration from Christy Wallace, who some of the best perimeter defenders in the competition have a hard time doing. So tremendous effort by her. Forces the lob pass over the outstretched hands of the taller Emma Clark, and then because the flight path of that ball has to go so high, it allows Willoughby to anticipate on that weak side and get a hand to it.
Now Mitchell, got to go. Shot clock expires.
There's a small win for the Sydney Flames, doing a great job defensively for the entirety of the shot clock.
And a win they needed. It's now a 12-0 run in favour of the Boomers. Willoughby. As Shervin, hand off, Panousis. For 3, it's good.
Beautiful execution. Ball changed sides, screens were set on people to open up time and space advantages, and then Panousis was assertive, doing what she does. She's a 3-point shooter that can catch and hit it. No hesitation, she can knock those down.
Downloaded Nelson Adota. Willoughby fighting hard. Now Panousis into the front court. Froling taking on George. And it's just landed in the lap of Hannah Shervin.
When you hang around the basket, good things happen. That's why it's such a great idea if you're the non-driving or non-attacking post player to go to the rim when your teammates go into the basket like that. You can clean up a lot of missed shots for uncontested rebounds and putbacks.
Call here from the ref. Remains with the Boomers. Crucial evening for them. Had to win to stay in touch with the top 2. And with 4.5 remaining, they look in control.
Foul against number 34, Hannah Shervin. 4 personal, 13 foul.
I just had to double check whether Tiana Megakahia is fouled out of the game. She's only got the 3 fouls, so sitting at the moment. Be interesting to see if Coach Gorman puts her back in the game.
Played the 31 minutes this evening, Megakahia. So had a heavy load. In fact, she might be about to step back into the game right now.
Because you've got more offensive weapons on the floor at the moment that she's able to either create space for, or they can create space for her, with their shooting ability.
So a timeout on the floor, and it's an 18-point ball game. Boomers leading the way here. And this timeout is brought to you by Aussie Hoops. Aussie Hoops has been setting the basketball foundations for kids aged 5 to 10 for some time now. Whether your kids are basketball fans or simply looking to be a part of a team, register them at Aussie Hoops to kickstart their basketball journey. It's been a clinical outing so far from the Boomers today, Mark. There hasn't been the sort of scintillating offense that we've seen at times from this team throughout the year. They can put up huge scores, 100-plus tallies, 15, 23s in a game even. Hasn't been that sort of a performance from them, but they've pretty much done as they've needed to do and had most of the answers so far.
And that's what you want, you know, in this late part of the season. You've got to eke out the wins anytime or any way that you can in a lot of instances. If you're Coach Chris Lucas now, you're anticipating perhaps a defensive change-up from the Flames, or there might be a crank-up in pressure. So here, if you're orchestrating a play, you might be looking at something with a back cut involved in it, or something where a back cut creates space for your next action, almost turning the aggressiveness from the defensive end from the Flames against them.
Here we go, out of the timeout. Tiff Mitchell will inbound for the Boomers. Fresh 14, here's George. Yet another double-double for her this afternoon. Barely a game where she hasn't had a double-double this season. Kayla George. Mitchell through the keyway.
It makes it look so easy, but it's not. I mean, she's so quick with her first step. Changes direction, gets on the rim, gets a layup for a team.
Panousis trying to make things happen from beyond the arc. Now Wallace. George. Found Nelson Adota. She'll go herself from three. Cannot give her that much room, Kayla George.
And shows the breadth of her skill package. Tried to get Nelson Adota involved in the game. If Olivia Nelson Adota caught the ball and grounded her feet, she would have had a layup, but instead opted to dribble it away and then kick the ball back out to George to hit the three.
Big block, George. Stays with the Flames. Clark from the wing for three. Rattles out.
But that's why she's valuable to have on the floor, because there's an imminent threat that she can hit those. You can see even by the misses that they're near misses.
Good child. Back out there off the bench. Nearly off the window. Here is Emma Clark. Finds Willoughby. Rowe was there for the screen. Opts to go left. Driving on Wallace. Nice finish. Three minutes remaining here at the Quaycentre. The WNBL Indigenous round. Flames in their red Indigenous themed jersey, the same that the Sydney Kings wear as well. The Hoops capital brand is Mitchell for three.
She's obviously done a whole lot of work on her three-point shot. She's gotten exponentially better at that between last WNBL season and this season. Credit to her.
Willoughby found her way through, opted against the shot. So the Boomers about to unload the bench. Here's Wallace in the corner. Not quite. Now Willoughby. So here's the call, and the bench unit for Chris Lucas's team about to check in. Who, speaking of Mark, is about to chalk up his 200th WNBL win as a head coach. Some achievement.
It really is. He's coached in the league for a lot of years and then been able to, most impressively, recreate success, beginning in Adelaide with the Lightning, having a heap of success and creating a legacy up in Townsville, for a boom period of time. Then being able to go back to Adelaide, bring them to a grand final, and then now have the Melbourne Boomers playing the way that they are.
16th season as a head coach in the league, as you mentioned, two-time champion in Townsville. And the way this Boomers team is going, they're definitely going to be in contention for what would be his third as they attempt to defend last year's title, the Boomers. Lead this one by 24. And a very familiar couple of names lead the scoring column for Melbourne.
Old Faithful, having Mitchell, George, Wallace, being able to play at what is in a lot of ways a regular game for them to put up the type of output that they are. Sometimes we take that for granted. They're fantastic basketball players that have to produce those types of outputs week in, week out, and against different styles of opposition. So to have three athletes that all can be relied on and then all have the capacity to spike that scoring load or that assist load and be able to carry you through portions of the game, it's a massive thing for this Melbourne Boomers team to have, and one that they're going to leverage going into the business end of the WNBL season.
They've had some injuries as well, as we know. Tess Madgen, who is out for the year, but Mia Murray, who has been a key piece. I mean, had a career scoring night as well earlier in the season, Mia Murray, to get her back integrated before finals, because you want to be rolling at the right time, don't you?
You do. Momentum is such a wonderful thing at the business end of the season, if I use that phrase again. Mia Murray has been there. She's been able to win championships. She's won a WNBL Grand Final MVP. So she's been able to produce on the biggest stages. Now, her role is going to be different, perhaps, than what it was at that point in time, but she's seen these stages. There's a familiarity, there's a comfort in her ability to produce, you know, when it really counts.
Davidson in the key way. Brewster makes on the 2. The first minutes of the contest, Rachel Brewster. Now Clark. Allen. 3 no good. Davidson's there on the defensive glass. Now Brewster. Well, it looks into double figures today in the scoring column. Brewster down low. Here's Brown. Doubled by 2 Sydney defenders. And the call. So Lou Brown will go to the line.
She comes in and brings energy in possession play. So one of the things that she does a fantastic job of is, you know, having a nose for the basketball, being around the hoop, keeping the basketball alive, or getting extra possessions for your team.
And how great do those Indigenous round themed jerseys look, Mark? I mean, every team around the league, they're just terrific. We saw the Southside one earlier as well. Beautifully designed.
Yeah, there's some beautiful artwork, and I'd love to see a world where each of the WNBL teams has the opportunity to showcase a different Indigenous artist every year and have a different uniform, you know, for the Indigenous round. It'd be a fantastic way to showcase, you know, some of our, you know, the beginnings of our country.
Davidson moves it forward. Good child.
Number 30.
In transition for the Boomers.
And then also give you some fantastic collector's pieces as well. You know, imagine having, if you're a fan of a team, their Indigenous jersey signed by your favorite athlete and being able to bid for that or buy it online.
It would be terrific. On the WNBL show during the week, it was suggested that we should continue wearing them. They really do look that great and commemorate what has been a fantastic Indigenous round. Davidson missing that time. Clark into the corner. And picked off by Brown. So here's Brewster. Now Wortlop. Shot clock just ahead of the game clock. Down low to Brewster, has Brown in the corner. Tied to the baseline. So that will do it. The Boomers have come into the Quaycentre and secured victory by a 20-point margin. A game they simply had to win to stay in touch with the top 2. It's their 13th victory of the season. Sees them a victory behind the Fire and the Flyers, but at the pointy end of the season, they had to get it done. And they did it, of course, led by the duo of George and Mitchell. Mark Alabakov.
And clinical, you know, a 29-9 fourth quarter. So being able to not lose focus, stay relentlessly competitive, even in a game that, you know, they held the ascendancy for the bulk of those first 3 quarters. You know, credit to them and the mentality that they're taking through this back end of the season that's going to serve them well when they get into the playoffs, you know, against some of these teams that are as high caliber. They're going to be real arm wrestles, and, you know, the mental side, the psychology of being competitive and being resilient. You know, these are skills that you develop over time. So credit to the Boomers being able to, you know, hold on and be able to push out to a massive win here.
Great pitches there. The Boomers huddle. Kayla George, superstar of this league. Yet another great game for her. 22 and 13. Tiff Mitchell start again. Just wreaking havoc running downhill as she has all season.
Yeah, and she's done a phenomenal job, I alluded to earlier, at developing her three-point shot. So in a previous season, so just last season, I know from being involved with the Bendigo Spirit at that point in time, a lot of the scout to try to stop her, and she's incredibly hard to stop, was to take away that left-hand drive, and then if you're going to give up something, I mean, you can't stop everything against these talented players, but give up the three-point shot. Challenge her with a hand up, but that was plan B for her. Now she's worked on her three-point shooting. She's knocking that down. It's really difficult to stop, with the athleticism that she has, both that inside-outside play that she's been able to grow within her game.
In the end, Boomers right on their season average of 87 points. Stats on your screen at the moment, and clinical from beyond the arc once again from this sharpshooting Boomers team.
Yeah, and so efficient. They run patterned offenses where they execute beautifully. They get the ball to their intended target. It's generally on time and and on target, so that their talented scorers can do what they do best. They get 34 points in the paint, but then they shot a fantastic clip from the three as well. 43% hitting 10 of 23. So when you've got a lineup that's got so much offensive prowess, but you've got 47% from the field, 43% from the three, and then 72% from the free throw line, they're filling up all possible streams of offense.
The Boomers will stay landlocked at the moment to third position on the ladder. Just a half game behind the Southside Flyers, with 2 rounds remaining to try and cover that margin and see themselves with home court advantage come semi-final time. And of course, they'll have the perfect opportunity to chip away, because they will play the Flyers in our ESPN Game of the Week on Wednesday, Mark. That is going to be terrific.
They're always fantastic contests. Anytime that you get 2 Melbourne teams in a derby, it makes for exciting basketball and then often fireworks. So that venue will be absolutely rocking. And then you look further down the line, Perth versus Bendigo is going to be a fantastic clash as well. It's going to determine potentially who makes that finals picture up. Melbourne gets to play against the chippy UC Caps. Townsville plays Sydney. All of these teams that sit within the finals picture are playing against teams that are hungry to try and get a top 4 scalp. There's no chance for anybody to rest.
And the Saturday night blockbuster over in WA. Perth and Bendigo, 4th versus 5th. That is going to be huge for who is going to take that final spot in the WNBL top 4. A lot to look forward to. 2 rounds remaining of the Cygnett WNBL. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. The Boomers prevail by 20 points. Liam Ellison and Mark Alabakov to bring it to you for the Cygnett WNBL.